By 2020, China plans to give all of its 1.4 billion citizens a personal score based on how they behave. So some people with low scores are already being punished if they want to travel. Nearly 11 million Chinese people can no longer fly, and 4 million are barred from trains. Next week, the program will start expanding nationwide. Ben Tracy is in China with what's behind the government scoring system. Ben, this sounds like scary stuff. Good morning.
Good morning. The government here says it is trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not. So like the credit score that most Americans get for how they handle their finances, Chinese citizens are now getting social credit scores based on everything from whether they pay their taxes on time to how they cross the street. When Leo Hu recently tried to book a flight, he was told he was banned from flying because he's on the list of untrustworthy people. Leo is a journalist who was ordered by a court to apologize for a series of tweets he wrote and was then told his apology was insincere. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel you're being controlled by the list all the time. And the list is now getting longer, as every Chinese citizen is being assigned a social credit score, a fluctuating rating based on a range of behaviors. It's believed that community service and buying Chinese-made products can raise your score. Fraud, tax evasion, and smoking in non-smoking areas can drop it. If a score gets too low, a person can be banned from buying plane and train tickets, real estate, cars, and even high-speed internet. It's a good thing, this woman says. There should be punishment for people who can't behave. China's growing network of surveillance cameras makes all of this possible. The country already has an estimated 176 million cameras, and it plans to have more than 600 million installed by 2020.
It can recognize more than 4,000 vehicles.
Xu Li is the CEO of SenseTime, one of China's most successful artificial intelligence companies. It has created smart cameras for the government that can help catch criminals, but also track average citizens. This knows every person, every bike, every car, every bus.
You can tell whether it is an adult, a child, a male or female.
In several big cities in China, including here in Shanghai, the government is even tracking jaywalkers. Cameras record them going through intersections, zero in on their face, and then publicly shame them on nearby video screens. Ken DeWaskin has studied China's economic and political culture for more than 3 decades. He says how the new scoring system truly works is kept secret and could be easily abused by the government. How far into people's daily mundane activities does this go?
Well, I think that the government and the people running the plan would like it to go as deeply as possible to determine how to allocate benefits and also how to impact and shape their behavior.
Now, there are upsides for people the Chinese government considers trustworthy. They can actually get better interest rates at banks, they can get discounts on their energy bills, and China's largest online dating site reportedly even boosts the profiles of people with high social credit scores. Nora?
Incredible. Ben Tracy in Beijing.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the ultimate version of Big Brother's watching. No thanks.
Yeah.
Bone chilling.
Yeah, I think so too.
Imagine that. I mean, we do have, in major cities, we do have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, but if you're jaywalking,
cameras were marking you down.
Right.
If you're jaywalking, I still expect to be able to fly.
Yeah.
Please don't take that away.
Or allow your kid to go to private school.
Yes.
No, that's a great story to see what's happening there. Thank you, Ben.
Oh, this is the No Face Movement, October 24, 2018. We're bringing breaking news warning that the New World Order facial system is going to all be implicated by the year 2020. And they're already doing it now, folks. All right. And China's already in position doing it, where if your social credit system ain't that good or whatever, you can't fly planes, you can't travel at all, you can't do nothing. And we're going to get into it. All right. So first, we're going to start off with China new social credit system. All right. And we're going to go to Wikipedia. All right. The social credit system is a national reputation system. All right. Just like Facebook is a reputation, Amazon, anything that you put a like on or you go write a view, that's a reputation system. All right. and it's being developed by the Chinese government by 2020. It is intended to standardize the assessment of citizens and business, economics, and social reputation or credit. All right. And this is kind of scary. As the mid-2018, it is unclear whether the system will be an ecosystem of rising scores and blacklists run by both government agency and private company, or if it will be one unified system. It is also unclear whether there will be a single system-wide social credit score for each citizen and business. By 2018, some restrictions had been placed on citizens, which state-owned media described as the first step toward creating a national social credit system. The system is a form of a mass surveillance which uses big data and endless technology. Whoa, 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 whoa. So, they got your face recognition. They could pull you up. They could ban you. They could blacklist you from anything in the country of China. All right? But they're not sure if it's owned by state-run and government. Most likely, it's going to be owned. Everything in China is run and owned by the government. It's a communist country. They own everything, even their corporations. All right. The implement by Chinese government. All right. Plan for implement between 2014 and 2020. On June the 14th, 2014, the China State Council issued an outline for the National Social Credit System. It was titled State Council Notice Concerning Issuing of Planning Outline for the Construction of a Social Credit System between 2014-2020, and it's already in place in China right now, folks, and they're already using, they're blacklisting people already. Law scholar Roger Creamers translated the document into English. The plan shows the government wants the basic structure of the social credit system to be placed by 2020. The goal being raise awareness for integrity and level of credible within the society. It is present as a means to perfect the socialized market economy, as well as strengthening and innovating social governments. It indicates that the Chinese government views both as means to regulate the economy at a business level and as a tool of government to steer the behavior of citizens. The outline focus of the four areas is honest in the government affairs. If you're honest to your government, that's basically what it means. Commercial integrity. So, do you handle business truthfully? All right. If you don't got bad credit, you don't owe. If you owe money, they don't want you on the system. Social integrity and due credibility. All right. So they want to make sure people like you. You ain't an outcast of society in China, and you're credible and you don't have a crime record. All right. The Chinese government plans include credit assessment of business operating in China. The social credit system is an example of China's top-level design approach. It is coordinated by a central leading group, a comprehensive depending reforms. It is unclear whether the system will work as envisioned by 2020, but the Chinese government has a fast track the implement of the system, resulting in the publication of numerous policy documents and plans since the main plan was issued in 2014. If the social credit system is implemented as an envisioned, it will constitute a new way of controlling both the behavior of individuals and businesses. All right. Now you think this is crazy. You seen the video I played at the beginning about this new social credit system. You're, oh, this ain't never going to happen in the United States of America. We're going to come right back to read the rest of this. Same year, 2020, October the 2020. All right, and there's going to be a video about this at the end showing about the United States of America. Real ID complements driver license and ID information. Is a real ID complement driver's license or state ID right for you? And you see, now all these, by the year 2020, you ain't going to be able to go to court without this little, an enhanced license or without a real ID. All right, you won't be able to go on planes. You won't be able to travel out of country, including you're still gonna need your passport with this new Real ID. All right, and this is from Michigan. Michigan Secretary of State Office now offer Real ID, complement driver's license, and ID cards, which are marked with a gold circle with a star inside. Michigan offers enhanced driver's license and ID cards, which are Real ID, complement, and are marked with the U.S. flag. All right, they're telling you what it's about. All right, what you need to bring in. All right, so this is what happens when you get a Real ID. All right, you go, bring your old ID, and this implements on 2020. All right, you're going to be in a database that's just like the Chinese social credit system. This is what the United States is basically doing. All right, without Real ID driver's license, with TSA required passport, a plane never leaves. When you were little, a gold star was reward and a symbol of doing a good job. Now that you are grown, good boys and girls who verify their identity and are in a facial recognition database. It's called Get Real ID Gold Stars on their driver's license. For those people, nothing will change when dealing with the TSA, but in April, will people from bad states without gold stars on their driver's license need a backup approved ID like passport to board a plane that never leaves America? What does that gold star really mean? It means you've shown a ton of paperwork to prove you are a U.S. citizen and that you are in a facial recognition database. All right. So the Real ID, all they're doing is improving it. That's all you think with a gold star, or it's enhanced. No, they don't take a picture of you. They tell you not to smile when they take a picture of you. Now you're in a facial recognition database to make sure it's you, and they could track every single movement of you like the CCTV. And they could already do this, but now it's the law. And it goes in effect to every single state October the 2nd, 2020. You can read the rest. It's called the Real ID Act. Has been around since 2005, but some states choose to call it Secure ID and talked up how it could guard against identity thefts. A lot of the reason they started up in 2005 was because of the 9/11 attacks. All right, folks, but a lot of states didn't have enough money and the technology to do it. But it's required, and they delayed it. But now, October the 2nd, 2020, everyone will need this kind of driver's license. If you don't get this kind of driver's license, you won't be able to go to court. You won't be able to pay your bills. You won't be able to go on a plane. You won't be able to go on a train. And that sounds crazy. And they're going to be able to recognize you from any camera that has a picture of you. All right, so you say, well, China's social credit system is horrible because all China's social credit system is the same thing. It's a facial recognition database that tells you everything from your social media, how people like you, if you're a credible person, your credit history, all that. If you think that the United States and the rest of the world is doing it too. The European Union, we got proof on that. We got proof. We just showed you about China's social credit system. We just showed you proof of the United States of America. All right, the same technology, the same thing in the same year, 2020. This is the New World Order, the IMF new kind of thing. All right, it sounds different, but it's the same thing. You can't get a job nowadays if you got a bad history, if you've been in jail. Same in China with the social credit system. You can't get a job if you got bad credit. Same in China. Same here in the United States now by 2020. You're going to be in a facial recognition database that's going to be able to pull up everything about you, folks. All right? And you think that's crazy? It gets even crazier. Now we're seeing eerie ghost cities, all right, in China. You're talking about China's eerie ghost cities, a symptom of the country's economy troubles and housing bubble? No, that is BS. This is all part of Agenda 21, depopulating the whole world and be able to do it and control you. Remember when we show you those, like, you're only going to be able to live in cities. All right, because the world population is growing so much. The reason in China they're building these massive ghost smart city is so they could take everyone in those rural areas, get them out so they can use it for more crop growth. All right. And now that's crazy, but they're building cities in China as we speak right now They don't house no one. They're smart cities. They got this new social credit system that they're going to be a part. If you live in the rural, they're going to bring you to these giant cities so you can live in it. And that's where you're going to be able to live. Same in the United States of America. If you look at any of these major cities, they're redeveloping it. All right, folks? And they're trying to move you into these places. We're going to keep following up. We're making this Agenda 21. All right, and one of the first cities that actually did it was Joplin, Missouri, and we got all the proof after that tornado. All right. So let's read about these eerie cities. Built for a population that never came about, 50 of these surreal sites lay desolate across the country, but still the construction continues. These new cities are usually built in rural areas on the outskirts of existing cities. So these are metropolitan hubs. All right. When you read the rest of this, it is designated for the people because China got that one-child law, right? China needs more food, right? So they're taking everyone from the rural area, put them in this new database by 2020, and they're living in these major cities that are already there. All right. So how far along you think the United States of America is? Oh no, the United States of America is right. We don't force our people. They make you believe it. These are better places. These are better cities. And you're talking about, oh, where are these cities built? All these old cities that are redeveloping. All right. There ain't no difference. Also, China is bringing back enslavements in Africa. Yes, you heard me right. All right. China and South Africa right now got a big deal. And South Africa is so broke that they keep borrowing money from China. And China's building these little cities and so they can move their people there to grow off the farmland because they're on farmland. But yet they're enslaving the people of Africa. China is planning to build a massive industrial city in the Limpopo province in South Africa. The new city includes schools, gyms, shopping center, hospital, and its own power supply. According to the report, the Chinese government is not required to pay value-add taxes, and they also do not have to pay custom taxes. Company tax for this project will be 15% instead of the usual 28%. The Chinese will supply their own workers for South African projects, meaning that South Africa employment will not benefit from the project. And these Chinese workers will be members of front companies for the Chinese military. So not only is China going to expand their economic imperialism, they are going to be occupying with a military force Africa as a whole. China and South Africa have entered into a large-scale industrial agreement, and South African president is not disclosing exactly what these deals are. In the last 18 years, China has pumped more than $124 billion into Africa. Although China is a country with over 100 million people who are still living below the poverty line. However, they continue to invest billions of dollars in offshore schemes, especially Africa. Disturbing China's liberal loan handouts is nothing more than a debt colony. All right. So what China is doing is putting the African people in debt because the African people can't pay when they ain't got no money. The African people can't pay when they ain't got no money to China and to all these other countries that are enforcing these new enslavement rules. You are a slave. They're taking, I'm going to borrow you some money to you, right? And you got to pay me back, but you're broke. So you can't pay me that back. So what do you give me? You start giving me your resources. That's what China's doing. It's taking their resources away from them because they already know that Africa can't pay them. All right, liberal loan handout. China is lending extra amounts of capital to impoverished nations in Africa, which have almost no practical way of repaying the debt. In August 2018, China pledged R196 South African Rand billion to South Africa during the 10th annual BRICS summit, which was held in Johannesburg. The big three credit rating agency, they rated them horrible because they knew Africa can't pay them back. And they even asked China, why are you lending? And China is saying, well, they could offer us their resources and their land. And they're making these African people just working for barely food. They are slaves. This is the new slave. These corporations are the new slave master. You are a slave to these big corporations, folks. All right. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook. At the end, we are showing you the Real ID Act that goes in effect in October 2nd, 2020. The facial recognition of all United States people. If you don't have it, like I said, you can't go to court, you can't pay your bills, you can't fly planes, you can't do nothing. Same thing is happening in China. That's happening right now. They will blacklist you, folks. This is an IMF order. We're going to stay tuned. Agenda 21, they're depopulating the world. They're re-enslaving Africans. They're doing all this stuff around the world. And China and America are hand in hand together. This is the No Face Movement. Moving till next time. Facing off.
California driver's licenses or ID cards will no longer be accepted to fly come the year 2020. A new federal mandate requires a new real ID at airports and military bases.
A lot of these folks are just learning about the real ID. It's an optional identification card, but if you travel a lot in the United States, you likely will want to get one because come October 2020, driver's licenses will not be accepted at airports. It's either got to be your passport or your real ID card.
If you live in Kansas, you may soon need to get a new driver's license. Today, the state unveiled that new design. But the updated look is not for style. It's to comply with new federal rules.
The look of your Pennsylvania driver's license and the way you go about getting one are about to change. It's all in the name of security.
The New Hampshire DMV is issuing real IDs.
Real IDs. The Real ID law was passed back in 2005 on recommendation of the 9/11 Commission, ostensibly to make it harder for terrorists to get state driver's licenses. But it's taken a decade for the Department of Homeland Security to finally get around to enforcement. Now, residents in some states may no longer be able to use their driver's licenses or State Motor Vehicle Commission IDs to get into federal facilities or even to board domestic flights.
Real ID law was passed by Congress after the September 11th attacks. It requires all states to meet tougher identification standards for use at airport checkpoints.
Your current California driver's license or ID card soon won't be accepted by TSA agents. That's due to the Federal Real ID Act of 2005, passed in response to the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
After October 1st of 2020, they will need either a Real ID license or a passport to board domestic airplanes.
The federal government is requiring states to comply with certain requirements in order to board a domestic flight, enter certain federal facilities, and military bases.
That means a DMV visit will be required. Customers will have to pay a renewal fee and get the new federally compliant Real ID before October 2020.
The Division of Motor Vehicles began signing people up for Real IDs today, but they're urging people to wait until their current license expires before they sign up.
Everybody's license that they have now is good until October 1st, 2020.
The Department of Homeland Security says the license you were issued at the licensing center is not a real ID. In states that have them, a gold star indicates it's a real ID, and those that aren't in compliance clearly say so. It's the result of 12 years of Homeland Security pushing states to a common standard for processing applications to tighten up preventing those with nefarious intent from getting a legitimate ID.
More than 10 years after Congress enacted the law creating minimum security standards for types of identification to be used at federal facilities, including airport security.
The one thing is you can't renew online. This does have to be done in person. It's part of the requirements set forth in the Real ID Act.
Currently, state law allows someone's photo and social security number to be deleted from the DMV system. That will not be allowed for those opting in to the Real ID program.
Among other things, the law requires motor vehicle agencies to run facial recognition software. Compliance with the law would mean that your personal information, like social security numbers and copies of birth certificates, would be available to other motor vehicle agencies and thus thousands of their employees across the country. But some privacy advocates say Real ID is really just an end-around attempt by the federal government to create a national ID card.
All states issue uniform cards and back-end databases license would share information about drivers and ID from person nationally. The Department of Homeland Security is trying to drive compliance by threatening to withhold acceptance of licenses from non-complying states at TSA when people go to travel. So that's a national ID and it's being pushed by the federal government on the state.
In addition to the potential privacy vulnerabilities, the law, in 10 years of non-enforcement, has already cost a lot of money, says Decatur Institute's Jim Harper.
Congress has spent almost $500 million over the last 10 years on various identification and biometric programs. That is money spent to track all of us. Now, some of them may have some security benefits, but on the whole, tracking law-abiding American citizens failed to cost benefit analysis. That is, it spends more money than it delivers security or other benefits.
Unless New Jersey changes course, you could ultimately be forced to share a lot more of your personal information if you want to fly or even visit your congressman's office, all in the name of national security.